Welcome to the second episode of I Know What You Watched Last Week.
You got it right this time.
Yeah, for the record, we noticed that the camera wasn't recording on our first take of this, and I just straight away called it I Know What You Did Last Week.
Can't even get his own title right. But
Ruins it, because I was going to say, was anyone going to get my really sly reference?
it's not that sly, it's pretty obvious.
And we've also got pretty much the same text, right, when it comes up.
I based it on that, yeah.
There we go. And for the record, we also have I Know What You Did Last Summer playing in the background on mute, so that's probably why, well, no doubt why, it was in my head. So 3 horror movies last week. What did we watch?
Right. We saw the 2011 remake of The Thing.
Prequel.
Yeah, alright. Prequel. We also saw Hellraiser Inferno
Mm-hmm.
and The Gate.
Yes, starring Stephen Dorff. Young Stephen Dorff. I think it was his
little
first
child.
role.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
not entirely sure, but I think it was his first role.
I also had no idea that was a kid's movie going into it.
Yeah.
And then quickly realised it
before
must
we
be.
get into it, in order, what were your favourites? What was your favourite to you, or least favourite?
The Thing was probably the best of the 3 for me.
Agreed.
And then... Oh, gosh. I don't know. I guess if you give it's a kid's movie, maybe I'll go with The Gate.
Yeah, I would give it to The Gate.
Because, yeah, the Hellraiser one was
Hellraiser
bizarre
5,
in
Inferno.
its own way, in not the usual Hellraiser way.
So we'll start off with the favourite then. So, what did you like about The Thing 2011?
Okay, well, I went into all of the remakes when they get to that point with very low.
It's not a remake. How many more times?
Alright, the
I know
prequel.
it's almost a remake because I'll get into that. But yeah, technically it's a prequel. As in case you haven't seen it, at the end of the 2011 remake, it ends with the helicopter chasing an infected dog, which is how John Carpenter's The Thing opens.
Mm-hmm.
So it's absolutely a prequel.
All right, fine. Prequel. I've completely lost the train of thought of what I was going to say because of that pedantic choice.
I'll just keep it zipped.
So what was I saying?
What did you
What
like?
I liked about it. Well, they did a lot of interesting monster type creatures.
The Thing.
Yeah, The Thing, but because obviously it's so different to the 80s version, where you don't really see that much of it. You just know it's present, and that's the whole reason why they're so paranoid. Whereas this one, it was like every 2 seconds you see it, which took away from the paranoia. But it was really interesting to see them create these weird morphed monsters.
Your recollection of John Carpenter's The Thing is that The Thing doesn't appear very much. Because I'm thinking in my head when you said that, gears started going, and I was like, does it appear a lot? And I can recall more than a few times, that The Thing reveals itself as whatever it is at that particular time.
I mean, I know I can think of a few as well, but I don't remember feeling like I saw it as often in as many forms.
Maybe it just felt more subtle, even though it was complete in your face practical effects.
I guess also because what
Blow your mind practical effects.
stuck with me from the 80s one was all the psychological paranoia element of it, which is obviously a huge part of it.
Look what's happening. We start discussing The Thing, and we just instantly, without even thinking, just start discussing the 82 version more than the remake.
Well, it's a
because
comparison.
There's so much more I know it's a comparison, but also it was just interesting that happened so quickly.
But it's so iconic. You can't talk about this prequel and what you liked and didn't like about it without directly comparing it.
Let's do an exercise. Let's just try and not bring up John Carpenter's The Thing, and let's see how long we last. So what else did you like about it? specifically. So something that I really enjoyed was, considering it had CGI melded with the practical effects, I think a lot of the effects that were melded with CGI were the better for having practical effects behind it, which actually I shouldn't give any kudos to the studio, because they hired, I'm not sure of the name of the effects team, but they came in, and so when we had the thing dormant in the movie, they're obviously all practical effects. I thought it all looked really cool, really good. And when they were morphed with CGI, it was still the practical effect part of it, which I could still see through, that really made it a good effect. But I read that literally up to an hour and a half before the movie's premiere, essentially, the studio got so freaked out about the practical effects just being practical effects that they just laid it over with, buttloads of CGI. And after hearing it, I was like, why did you even bother? Because, as I said, the thing that I enjoyed most about the effect is that still, I'm giving the CGI the kudos because I don't normally enjoy CGI.
Yeah.
So what I was saying is, just with the practical effect, it looked really good, but it was clear that they didn't need it, because every time there wasn't CGI, the monster, the thing, still looked really, really cool, I thought.
Well, I think that was my original point, saying that I liked the incarnations of the thing in this version, because they didn't look super phony and dumb. They were interesting, they were executed well. And considering how many monsters we've seen and stuff, recent, old, hailed, it's just, I thought they did a good job.
Yeah, this is only the second time I think I've seen it, and the first time I saw it was, probably at least 10 years ago, and I always remembered that I liked it. Not that I thought it was amazing, but I liked it. And it was a lot of the practical creature effects and the melded ones which stuck with me, which is not, was pretty rare for a newer movie to do that.
Also breaking the rule, because I'm going back to refer to the 80s one.
Cut the timer.
just to wrap it up, I think I'm glad actually that I went into it with slightly lower expectations, and people, especially on social media, warning me, only the John Carpenter version is relevant. And don't get me wrong, it's kind of a fair statement, but because I went into it not trying to compare it, it was actually a really enjoyable watch. It's just a shame when things have to be held up to such a high standard. It's going to be hard to reach, and they didn't make The Thing even prequel, if you want to say that, because that would...
Okay, so that's going to be my next question. So technically it's a prequel, but there are very similar scenes to the... What's the other one? Oh yeah, John Carpenter's 82, I should mention it again. So there are very similar scenes, to the point where some of it is more like just an updated remake, certain scenes, just with slight details changed. So the big change here is, instead of the blood test in the 82, we get the fillings test, the teeth fillings test. And I'm just thinking, if you're going for a completely different story, why would essentially the exact same thing happen with just one element changed?
Yeah, I think it would have been quite interesting, if anything, to go back a lot further. So rather than end the film being directly before John Carpenter's version, with the dog running, as we said, it would have been more interesting in that case to go further back in time to when they had different technology and maybe different relationships and all that between the people. It just would have created a bit something more new, I suppose.
Once again, it's really obvious that we would have got a much better movie if the director, I'm going to try and pronounce his name correctly, Matthias van Heiningen Jr., he complained that he was essentially working under the thumb of no less than 6 executives on this movie, and he got so frustrated that he said that he will never come back and do another Hollywood movie. And as far as I know, I don't think he has. He's been doing things. I think he's Dutch, so I think he's been doing things in his own country.
Sounds Dutch, but I think that's the problem when you've got. And it's always going to be the case with the ones that come with a big title that they're prequeling or remaking or sequeling, whatever the case may be, that you're going to have more money, but that also means that the people who've thrown the money at it want all the say in the details. And then there's not just one of them, there's, as you say, 6 of them, 12 of them, 2 of them even. It doesn't really matter. The point is you've got people who aren't invested in the artistic side of it, still trying to, I guess their angle is trying to make it more successful. But when you go into something with the idea of making it successful when it's art, I just don't think it ever works.
Mm. They paid a price because, well, it didn't make its money back, essentially, on a reasonable budget. So I wasn't going to be too pedantic about the whole remake prequel thing. But as I said, there are such similar scenes in this movie, and I could have just let it go because there's enough that's pretty slightly different as well. But at the end, they directly go to show that this is nothing but a prequel.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a problem for me. I just feel like they've made all the best parts of the movie were taken from the John Carpenter version. And even as I say that, for all the praise of the effects of the thing, there wasn't one iconic scene. So even the scenes they did by themselves are nothing iconic. So if you recall John Carpenter's version, there's this part where they've got a human got cut off by technology there.
High tech.
Yeah. So no iconic scenes in the 2011 version. And the one that instantly comes to my head from the 82 is when the guy's on the gurney and they try to resuscitate him with the defibrillator, and his hands and arms go through the guy's torso and get bitten off by its munchy torso. And for all of
this time it's not technology letting us down. Your brain's just paused.
It's just there were no iconic characters and no iconic scenes really. Having said that, it's still, like you said, not a bad movie.
Yeah, and then the other thing that we talked about without realising we weren't being recorded anymore was who was it? The executive producers who insisted that the lead for this movie be female.
Yeah, that was a demand.
Yeah, right.
Before the script had been written, that they wanted to create their own Ripley.
First of all, you're already prequeling John Carpenter's The Thing, and now you're saying you want the lead female to be like Ripley from Alien. I mean,
one of the most iconic characters.
Yeah, crazy. That's really shooting high, isn't it? But they certainly didn't manage to do Ripley again.
No, I like Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I like a lot of the movies that she's in, especially Black Christmas remake from 2006. And they didn't really give her anything to do.
No, this was my problem with it, was that regardless with that character of whether it was her or it being played by a male actor, it just wasn't written convincingly. I didn't feel like there was any reason as to why she suddenly had the answers to everything, and it's like she'd already watched John Carpenter's movie and was like, oh right, yeah, I recognise this is what's happening.
I saw it on that movie.
Yeah. It's like, but
if you're going to make a demand, as in the character has to be this, make it be for a reason, and make it be worthwhile.
Yeah.
Because I feel that the 82 version with the cast of men, cold, callous men who are doing a dangerous job anyway, and then they're infiltrated, and the strength in numbers has gone, and it's just raw paranoia, men who are already on the edge of sanity, and there's nothing there to curb primal instincts at that point. Whereas in The Thing, 2011, which we see in quite a lot of horror movies, there is the part where light just fell down.
Yeah.
There is a part where the men they're just about to lose their minds because of what the Thing they just come across it, it's wreaking havoc.
Yeah.
And they're about to lose it, and then out steps Mary Elizabeth Winstead's character and says something along the lines of, "Stop it, don't, whatever." And the men just stop, and it had like a head teacher pupil dynamic to it, which was just completely unrealistic and pretty dumb, let's face it.
Yeah, it's weird. And then also I find it interesting because, again, it could have added an extra layer of interest to it. Just occurred to me if some of the men had maybe been a little bit sexist, and thought, because she completely takes over. And the only thing that I remember them saying, apart from being quite compliant, is, "Oh, she's a smart one," or something like this. And it's so much more shoehorned, and it feels unrealistic. And it's like, if you really want to show this as a realistic vision of what a powerful woman can do, then make me believe it, because I just didn't.
Because right now we're being given a real disservice, even
Yeah.
more in this day and age now. Something else that stood out to me just a little bit was, it's just more of it on a funny note. There was a part where a couple of the guys were running away in panic, and out of there I noticed the music, and I said to myself, this music sounds like it should be in a 90s teen slasher. And then when it got to the end of the movie, I realised that the guy that composed the music was Marco Beltrami, who did Scream, and Marco Beltrami is one of the greats. But it just didn't go.
Was that the one of the three movies that had the weird soundtrack right at the end with the credits? Because one of them had a song playing that I was like, what has this got to do with the film that we've just watched?
No, that was Hellraiser 5.
Oh, it was Hellraiser. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think pretty much covered it. Everything.
Yeah, that's probably a good segue into Hellraiser 5, isn't it?
I was going to say, it was a good movie.
Yeah.
But it just didn't have John Carpenter and Kurt Russell.
No.
And that's a big problem. Second favourite, The Gate.
Okay, we're going in that order. Yeah, what about it? Oh, wait, actually, I have a statement to say, which I mentioned. I don't know if we caught it on this or not.
A statement?
A statement. When we chose to watch The Gate, I had not heard of it. I had no idea it was a kids' movie. Basically, you were like, "Oh, we can watch this, or The Gate." And I said, "Well, what's The Gate about?" And he said, "Oh, some kids on their own open the gate to hell." And then going into it without realising it was supposed to be for kids and stuff. I mean, the little, like, monsters and everything.
Not entirely sure that it was marketed as a kids' movie, because how can it be when I believe it's rated 18, or at least was, which is kind of silly when you think about it. But the cast is upheld by kids.
Yeah.
A young Stephen Dorff.
But also, he kills the devil with, like, a rocket toy.
Yeah, again.
So how is that not a kids' movie?
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you. It was me that actually said to you it's a kids' movie.
Right.
When actually, I'm not sure if it's ever been listed as a kids' movie. What I'm saying is, it's rated 18 for one thing.
That's bizarre.
And yeah, the cast is held up by pretty much just children for
Yeah.
the majority of the movie. But at the same time, if this was adult, then it's just not. And if it's for kids, then why is one of the kids gouging someone's eyes out? Because it's just not. That's not a kids' movie.
Well, when is it from?
87.
Well, there you go then. 80s. There were no rules.
But still, the marketing angle or whatever you want to call it is still just, it doesn't add up right.
But it can't be for adults. I mean, the whole time when he was with his rockets, and then it was like, oh, the devil, the most powerful of evils in all the world, and he's there. He looks hilarious, by the way. The drawing was sick. The actual end result of what they showed was not quite as accomplished.
I doubt this movie had much of a budget, if anything at all.
Really? Wow. But yeah, when he then finally killed it and saved the whole world with like a rocket toy. I mean,
yeah, it was just more confusing as to he saved the world with a rocket toy after previously either him or his mate gouged out someone's eyes just previously. I just didn't get the tone. But I'm going to call it a kids movie because when I watched it as a kid, to me, I always remember that. I don't know if it was like an early one, but I remembered it being gory. I remember it being, very 80s
I mean, it would freak
gore.
me out if I was a kid.
Yeah, and as an adult, it doesn't have it doesn't have any impact whatsoever. But it is still, it's a fun, charming movie, I think.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't necessarily want to watch it again, but I wouldn't warn anybody off watching it at the same time. And also, it's just fun to watch Stephen Dorff as a baby.
He was actually really good.
He was really good. I think all the kids were really good, but Stephen Dorff in particular.
He was really
You can
good.
tell the talent like straight away, can't you?
And I feel like back in the 80s, for example, 90s, noughties, it's only quite recent I find that they've got some technique that a lot of child actors seem suddenly to be really good, whereas not that long ago it was very hit or miss. You had like a few standout child actors who got used all the time because they were brilliant, but then generally if you tried someone new, it's like...
These kids weren't the Dorfmeister, were they?
Dorfmeister.
So, pretty fun movie. Let's get into Hellraiser 5,
gosh.
Inferno.
Inferno.
What, if anything, did you like about this movie? Now, for the record, I am an uber fan of Hellraiser.
Yeah.
Hellraiser 2, Hellraiser 3.
You love it.
Hellraiser 4. I hadn't seen the 5th. So this was my first chance to watch it. And I'd read some pretty good things about it. And I was underwhelmed, to say the least.
It was so strange, the choices they made for that film.
Now, at some point, I know that the Hellraiser franchise, whoever held the rights, let's say it was Miramax, it must have been Miramax, they, in order to keep the rights to Hellraiser, they had to churn out a Hellraiser movie. So the rumours are that they just took an existing script about a serial killer, almost like a Seven type movie, and just inserted Pinhead into a few scenes.
I can completely believe that.
Now, I thought that was fact, but I also read in trivia that the director said that is absolutely not the case, and they came to them and said, this is the story of Hellraiser. Now, I don't buy it.
That makes no sense. It makes no sense. And also you say it's like a Seven style thing with Pinhead inserted, but it's barely even Pinhead. It's some weird version of the Cenobites that you keep seeing for no reason. There doesn't seem to be any consequence. It's... Yeah, there's no way this was not a completely different movie that's just very badly been spliced with bits from Hellraiser. Because... And actually, it's funny you say that, and as Hellraiser and as a movie, I thought it was poor, and I'm never going to watch it again. But I reckon if they kept that original script, that might have been a good movie.
Yeah, I thought the same thing, actually. Concentrating on it being Hellraiser, so this was the first one that went directly to video, so it didn't have a cinema release, and I think the first three all had a $12 million budget. The fourth one in space was cut down to $4 million, and this one was half of that. Now, I knew it was lower budget, but when I saw it was $2 million, I was looking at our 30-minute, £30 short and thinking that the quality of shots and things like this was probably on a par, and our movie cost 30 quid.
It
so
is...
I'm bigging up our movie, even though
yeah.
not perfect, but...
It is crazy, though, what certain films do with certain budgets. I mean, there are so many examples you could go out and just say, this movie cost a tenth of what this movie cost, and it's mind-blowing. Because you can't see it.
When I saw it was lower budget, I then saw that it was 2 million, and that some things there are just no excuses for. So do you remember the first time I noticed the budget cuts in the movie?
No.
The first time I noticed... Cut off again. So the budget. The first time that I noticed budget cuts, do you recall?
Well, now I do, because you just told me and we didn't catch it on camera. But
Karen,
I didn't.
This is the magic of camera.
Right, I'll
People
pretend.
Don't have to know.
No, I have no recollection.
The first time I noticed the budget cuts was when Detective Joseph was tending to a dead body in front of a fireplace, and he picked up what appeared to be some mangled salmon masquerading as human flesh.
Yeah. You said a whole thing about this as well, about budget, and you've only got like $15 left and no one wants to work for that.
So it's got a $2 million budget.
Yeah.
And it seems that they must have used it on, because it's still quite early, year 2000, so they used it on those CGI tongues for the Cenobites who were made of bed sheets, as far as I could tell. And they left themselves, out of that $2 million budget,
Just enough for a side of salmon.
about $15.99 for some good salmon from the supermarket. That was what was left for mangled flesh budget.
I feel like there could have been cheaper options, but
No one's going to be working for $16 to make mangled flesh, so you might as well just go to the supermarket, pick up some pink salmon, shine a light on it, and have it masquerade as flesh.
Yeah.
Now, I'm absolutely not against using salmon as a substitute for skin in a movie, but I shouldn't be noticing that it's salmon.
I don't think that really fulfills the purpose of anything that's supposed to be a duplicate.
So something else, which is clearly a budget thing, there are rumours that just to keep the rights of Hellraiser...
Didn't we go over this already? I swear you said this already. Yeah, no, you said this, like, this was one of the first things we said. What I did want to say, though, was the Cenobites, again, being in there. In every other Hellraiser film I've seen, the Cenobites are terrifying.
Yeah.
Whereas in this one, the only real interaction he has with them, he seems to love. And...
Well, they are supposed to be purveyors of pleasure and
I
pain.
know, but it's never really seemed that pleasurable in previous ones.
It's disappointing that we've seen, what's supposed to be pleasure for the first time in the fifth one, because...
It doesn't fit. I've never seen anyone react like that to their skin being ripped apart. Anyway, but apart from that one moment, they just kind of are around.
Yeah.
What are they doing?
At one point, a Cenobite seems to be living from the apartment opposite the detective, because he's showing him a victim while cutting off his fingers. Now, what the hell was the fingers thing all about? To the point where this Cenobite serial killer kept cutting off the fingers of his victims, and they kept referencing it. And I was like, what the hell is this finger thing?
Well, again, because it was a different script, I'm sure that was a crucial element of it.
So they've already got that problem. And then when you see Pinhead at the end of the movie, he then also references the fingers thing. Like, we're supposed to know that Pinhead, he loves fingers.
He likes little fingers. Yeah, okay. Oh, yeah, that whole thing with the kids and there is no way anybody... I don't know how that director thinks that he can get away with saying, no. This was a new idea come up with just for this movie, because there's no way that wasn't supposed to be just a thriller murder thing. I mean,
yeah. If someone has written that, then don't write, basically. But I would also say that the director is Scott Derrickson, who did Sinister. He's a good director. He knows his stuff. He's done some very cool stuff, but
they handed him a dud script.
They definitely handed him, unless he wrote it himself, as he says. So,
he says he wrote it himself as well, not even just it was given to him like
don't
that.
Quote me.
I've just quoted you.
I believe that he personally went to the studio, either by himself or with somebody else, to say, this is the Hellraiser script. And I'd only heard that more recently, because for years and years and years, I just assumed that they churned this out as a mesh.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There are some very, very strange parts. So there's very strange music.
Oh god, the music, especially once the credits rolled in. Already I was reeling from how different this movie was to any Hellraiser I'd seen, but then they had some peppy like jingle or something, and I was like, what the hell is this?
At the end of Hellraiser, and that's not the thing I want to get. I just realised another budget cut that I noticed. Razors. Every time they went close up on Doug Bradley's face as Pinhead, he hadn't shaved. There was stubble there. Pinhead had stubble. Pinhead didn't have time to shave.
Okay, I didn't notice that, but I did just think Pinhead looked a bit janky anyway in this one.
Pinhead did not look... He looked unfinished. He looked completely unfinished.
And those nails didn't look like
But he hasn't even had a shave.
He hasn't even shaved.
There was also, if you recall, the detective, he walks into what I think is a casino full of cowboys.
Yeah.
And then when he exits the casino, he's walking towards a tree, and out of nowhere, he's attacked by two kung fu cowgirls. Again, with some weird music playing over it.
Yeah.
What was going on there?
Because he's chasing after someone he's not supposed to be chasing after, and apparently this guy's like Kill Bill, the one he's just spoken to, and he's got his chicas doing his fighting for him. But I have no idea. That was so bizarre. Yeah, every detail you keep reminding me of just adds to the fact that this is not Hellraiser.
That was in their coherent, made-for Hellraiser script.
Yeah,
Kung
of
Fu
course.
Cowgirls. The lead guy, Detective Joseph. Now, he's always in a state of, oh, I need to have a drink because my life's so bad, or I'm on the verge of tears because I don't get to see my daughter. Now, when he first comes home, all dishevelled from work, his missus is made up, done to the nines. She's got this, revealing negligee on, she's got her makeup on, she's gone to a lot of effort. She's smoking hot, and she essentially propositions him, and he then turns her down. His daughter wakes up, and he's like, Daddy, Daddy, and he's all like, oh my God, my baby, I miss you so much. And then he leaves the house to go and pay for some hookers.
Yeah, but I thought I think you're missing it. I thought that was the whole point, that he's supposed to be shown as a not good guy, and like someone who thinks he loves his family, but he's
I get
not.
that. I completely get that.
Right.
But what I don't understand is, if you do miss your daughter, she's right there. You can just stay home for even half an hour if you want to, and just read her a bedtime story. But instead, it's like, oh no,
Yeah.
Daddy's gotta go and pay for sex.
But he's not a good guy, is he? So.
And his missus was smoking. Why is he going out and paying for it? He can't be on a very good salary. He wasn't dressed very well.
Such a bizarre.
He's spending all his money on booze.
I mean, I don't even know what.
Beautiful as well. Don't get me wrong, but
I don't even know really what to say about the film. It was so bizarre. Nothing made sense. Half the time I was like, is this supposed to be some otherworldly being, Cenobite, or is this just another character? I mean, I don't know.
Ooh, I love you, Pumpkin. I wish Daddy could stay home, but I gotta go and spend my hard-earned money on these nuts. That wraps it up.
Yeah, we'll end it on D's nuts.